welcome. As I've heard from before, I joined a little bit earlier, and I heard you had wonderful discussions around resilience and digitalization. My session will be a little bit different. So we will talk about maybe not so much the resilience per se, but we will be talking about how can maybe some of the things could be done together. Because what we think when we talk about collaboration is that, you don't have to do all the things just by yourself. And that, I think, is the core of also external engagement and university business collaboration. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about now. So I will be talking you through some of the basics behind university business collaboration. I wish we had more time because we can talk about this topic endlessly, but don't you worry, we'll provide you with some reading materials afterwards. So if you'll have more questions, feel free to reach out. My name is Balzhana Razbayeva. I'm the Manager Strategic Initiatives at UIN. I'm actually also formally Fachhochschule Münster researcher as well. So it's great to be part of this bootcamp because I get to maybe wear both of my hats. But why us? Why we're talking about university business collaboration and why we're working also with the Science to Business Marketing Research Center on this particular topic? Well, because we truly are passionate about bringing the two worlds together. So we truly believe that universities should make themselves a little bit more relevant in society. Therefore, they should also be capable of collaborating with external stakeholders, SMEs included, and we truly do believe that there is a lot of benefits for companies like yourselves. I know we have a lot of SMEs present as well as academics here. There are lots of benefits for everyone involved when it comes to university business collaboration. And we at UIN do it in many different ways. If you are interested, you can always reach out to Jose or myself, but I will just quickly run through the quick agenda that we have ahead of ourselves. As I said, very ambitious for the 40 minutes that we have left. But what I would try to do is to introduce you to the ecosystem framework, and we will be also talking a little bit about different ways you can engage with each other. When I say you, I address both university colleagues and company colleagues with each other. We'll be addressing some of the barriers and drivers, and hopefully with that, we will be able to draw some first conclusions for ourselves. There will be a few interactive moments as part of this session, and we will do it in a bit of a different way. I know as part of the last session, you had a very much open discussion. Here we will have sort of targeted little interventions where I will be asking you to maybe utilize the chat, and then I will be asking some of you to raise your hands and maybe comment on some of the things that you will be providing your answers to. The things that we will be talking about are based on the insights from the study that we actually have done together with Science to Business Marketing Research Center at FA Münster, with UIN included, is on the state of university business collaboration. The reason why I'm telling you is to show that the insights that are going to be presented today are all based on a very strong evidence. We have been talking with SMEs and universities from all across Europe, trying to understand how they can better work with each other. So especially we will be presenting some of the results from 17,000 responses. And you will see that I will be sharing responses both from the academic perspective as well as from the company perspective as well. But let's first start with a little discussion. So why should we collaborate? What are the reasons for you to start engaging with an external organization? Maybe you're already doing so, but just remember, we're not talking university to university collaboration or company to company collaboration. Here, we're very much interested in learning. For example, if you are an SME, how would you collaborate with university? Or the other way around. So maybe you can make use of this chat and put a few prompts for me so that then I can engage you in the discussion. Let's take 1 minute for that. Can I maybe ask, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Chiara, you talked about access to skills that are not available in the company. Would you like to elaborate on that? And maybe you can also tell us whether or not you have already been working.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We're based in Northern Ireland, working in the civil service as part of the Department of Agriculture. We're an organisation, we deliver food education, so we deliver degree and master level in food education, but we also do a lot of work with business. So we're more of a knowledge transfer organisation, and we linked up with Queen's University in Belfast with their engineering and data computer science department to work on a series of funded projects for the agri-food sector, looking at concepts for robotics and automation adoption. We worked with 33 different businesses, and we did a bit of sort of impact reporting and going out and revisiting once we had finished the projects. And one of the key reasons why they signed up to the programme was because they didn't have the skill level to develop a simulation or a digital twin in-house. So it was one of the reasons why they came on board with us in the programme.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's an impressive result, having so many partners involved in this initiative. I'm curious to learn more. Thank you.
Okay.
I also see someone said embed research in practice. Mike, maybe if I could quickly get you to speak on that.
Of course. So I'm at the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. I think several of us are at universities of applied sciences. And it's important that we engage with problems that manifest in practice. Otherwise, we just, risk making up our own research topics, and then we get carried away. And sometimes, to be honest, we'll get knocked back from funding if we cannot demonstrate that our question has been properly articulated from practice. So I think that's one of the things you get out of this sort of collaboration.
I couldn't agree more. I think especially for our colleagues at Universities of Applied Sciences, is sort of ingrained in their DNA. That's what they do. That's what they're very good at. And I think having this constant input from practice is just very crucial. So I really appreciate your insight there. Thank you. Well, with that, I think I will start moving on. But if you have any other thoughts that you would like to share, just keep popping them in the chat. That way we will always be able to retrieve those. But let's keep moving. So here's just a little sort of summary, so to say, of why would anybody like to engage with each other. But I thought it would be important to touch upon also different stakeholders present, especially when it comes to university, because universities consist of so many stakeholders as well. So I thought I could first start with academic, because they are at the forefront of that collaboration, right? If a university collaborates with a company, academics would be the one most likely undertaking that collaboration. And when we would ask academics why would they collaborate or what's in there for them, so and not in this exact order, but things that often pop up are that it helps them to inform their teaching by engaging with external world. It provides new insights for research as well. It helps to improve reputation. For some, it also provides source of research funding, whether it is coming from public funds or maybe directly from the company itself. And for many, it's also about ensuring impact of research to society, a little bit in line with what Mike was talking about as well, not just making it practical, but also making sure that it truly has an impact on society. When it comes to university as a whole, as an organization, if you will, universities often care about just generally improving relevance of teaching and research. For universities, it is certainly a source of funding. We also know that many universities actually see that as a also way to incentivize their researchers based upon the third-party money that they would be able to bring on board. For them, it's certainly a way to increase employability, especially these days, talking about digitalization and all of the challenges in this world. We need to make sure that students are properly prepared. And it's great to see that universities actually do recognize that. Therefore, getting this very much essential input from the industry or external partners more generally is quite important. They also do recognize the brand-related sort of benefits. So for them, it's important to also position themselves as, locally embedded university that is very much embedded in the local ecosystem and is able to orchestrate the relationships within it, and impact of research to society. For students, loads of benefits as well. So for students, it's about improving the relevance of study and job competencies, through getting this exposure to companies, NGOs, cultural organizations. They are able to enhance their future job prospects and employability, for example, if they are working on some sort of challenge-based education initiatives, or they're being placed at the company, and so on and so forth. And needless to say, it also helps them to improve their entrepreneurial abilities and just this, more critical sort of and creative thinking that comes with it as well. For industry, if we would ask industry partners, and we have some industry partners here, so please let me know if you agree with this. But for many who would work with universities, for them it's a way to identify, recruit, and integrate graduates who would fit their needs. So it's sort of about this talent pipeline that is so needed. Many would also recognize this again as something connected to reputation and brand. For many, it could be indirectly. So this is an indirect effect about providing this upskilling competences. Sometimes also directly when, for example, a company would get engaged with the university for training or executive training opportunities. And last but not least, it's access to talent, research, discoveries, and innovation. And there are obviously lots of benefits for society as well. But, what I wanted to talk to you about is maybe what not always works in those relationships, because what we often see is that, this collaboration may not naturally come to those who actually collaborate, because there are certain misalignments when we talk about university versus company. Expectations might be different at the start. There are different risk profiles. There are time orientation. I'm actually very curious to hear also from Chiara, because I can't imagine orchestrating such massive initiative probably also means managing so many expectations all at the same time. So this is what university business collaboration often is about. So not only that, the goals might be different. There is just generally also different cultures. Academics are very much often driven by research impact, by publications, by semesters. Everything flows in a very specific way. Whereas for companies, often it just has to happen now, or maybe even yesterday. So there is this discrepancy, and it's very hard to ignore it because it's just there. But it is possible to work with that. And the question is, how can we develop and sustain those mutually beneficial collaborations? And what I would like to present you with is the so-called external engagement ecosystem, or university business collaboration ecosystem, a framework that has been around for many, many years now, and we've been using it for 4 years as well. Also collaboratively developed with colleagues from Science to Business Marketing Research Center, where a framework that we use to sort of unpack this very difficult context in which university business collaboration takes place, because what we're dealing with would be so many different stakeholders. On one end, you have university leaders, you have professionals whose job is to actually support such collaboration, your knowledge transfer professionals, entrepreneurship professionals, partnership officers. You have the academics themselves, who are so busy with their day-to-day research and teaching activities, and you have students as well. On the other hand, you have companies that are very much driven by different, maybe very non-academic goals. They just really need to make sure that they're staying relevant on the market, that they produce, that they basically go and manage their day-to-day operations. So how do we manage that? And with that, we just wanted to introduce a sort of a framework or a lens for you to look at it, that sort of helps to simplify the reality a little bit, because currently university business collaboration is quite a complex topic. It's still a little bit abstract. It lacks common definitions and concepts. Whereas this framework is hopefully will be able just to help you understand that by simplifying the reality and by focusing on very concrete elements and their relationships, it would be possible to unpack it in such a way that you can make it work for yourselves. In the end of the day, it's just a tool that helps you with supporting your strategic decision making when it comes to, for example, choosing your partner or managing some of the partnerships that you already have at the moment. This is how it looks right now. We will provide you with the both paper and the report, so you will be able to explore it yourself. But what we would like to talk about right now is actually, and I'm throwing the question back at you, how would you rate yourself in terms of external engagement? Do you think you are awesome at it? Then you go all the way to 10, or maybe you would say, I'm just starting out. I'm 2 or 3. So maybe give me a bit of a context here. So again, please make use of the chat, and I will call on you to ask you for more comments on that. A bit of a self-reflection here. Love it, Mike. I certainly want to follow up on that. Maybe as we're doing this exercise, I'm already approaching kindly our company colleagues in this room, because I would like to hear from you. To what extent do you engage with companies with universities in collaboration? Do we have anybody from SME who would like to volunteer and tell us a little bit to what extent they're currently engaged with universities? Joost, would you like to tell us more how you work with universities?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi. Well, it's actually our main business to set up collaborations with universities and SMEs as programs. So what I experience trying to collaborate with knowledge institutes, especially universities, that on a teacher scale, we have a lot of enthusiasm often for projects and for ideas, but then the governance and how to set up the actual collaboration with all the rules and the governance which is involved makes it very difficult I think for a lot of SMEs to collaborate with like a big corporate or like a knowledge institute. Well, we often experience on the level of the work floor, so to say, that there's a lot of added value from both sides, but then making it to a actual partnership and contracting is it's a difficult part most of the time. And since it's our business, we try to develop it and we put a lot of time in it. But when I was like an IT company who likes to collaborate with the university on a certain topic, and my main focus is helping my clients becoming with their cybersecurity, so to say, then I can imagine that it takes too much time and you don't do it.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it certainly requires a little bit more attention and care and support when it comes to making this move all the way from transaction to something strategic and truly relationship based. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We have someone with 9. I'd like to hear that. Lidiana. Can I ask you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Lydia, and I'm part of a European project called Entrust. So it's a Marie Curie. And as part of my project, I am an industrial PhD candidate.
Wonderful.
And so to bridge this gap between the academia and the industry. So I'm based in the company. And after, for example, building my solution during my PhD, then I am going to a university to test that. But anyway, since I'm based in Ireland, the company is in South Dublin. So I commute once a week to Maynooth. So I also have the engagement there with my colleagues. I also have some classes. So I am between the academia and in the industry at the same time.
Very, very nice. Thank you. You are truly a manifestation of university business collaboration. That's great to hear. Only one question for you, though. Why not 10?
Well, could be 10, but when we think like the perspective, I'm working with agriculture, so I feel like maybe the 1% I would need to be much more in depth, like with specific, like it's in small farmers. So that's the reason.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks everyone else also for sharing.
Thank you.
Industrial PhDs is certainly a great way to help bridge that gap for sure. Which actually brings us to the next point. How can actually universities engage externally with companies? And we just wanted to quickly present you with another framework, but obviously there are many, many different ways on how you can look at it. But if we will try to sort of take rather a 360 degrees view and sort of try to break it down into the level of practical application of knowledge and the knowledge creation, we will come up with sort of, I'd say, 4 different ways in which universities and businesses can collaborate. But then again, if you go deeper, there will be many more different manifestations of that. But let's just take some of the bigger activities and try to look at them. So at the bottom, we have all of the educational activities because they don't require too much of, so to say, discovery-focused research activity. And yet they help a lot with practical application of knowledge. So when a university collaborates with company in education, what we often see is that those activities would be focusing, for example, on curriculum development and delivery. And as the name suggests, it means that the company representatives would get engaged in one or the other way to help out with either design of the curriculum, providing advice on how the curriculum should look like, or proactively engage in it, for example, through guest lectures, or maybe by engaging in challenge-based education projects, doing boot camps like this one, and so on and so forth. Mobility of students is one of the most common ways in which universities and businesses collaborate. Mobility of students include placements, internships, even maybe industrial PhDs, but those I think go a little bit beyond because they actually involved a high intensity research activities. There's also such a thing as dual study programs. That is something that is very common, more so in Germanic and Scandinavian countries. The programs that actually involve academic education and at the same time also a placement at the company. So basically the student, as they are getting their bachelor or master degree, they alternate between their university and their company partner at the same time, applying those skills and knowledge as they're studying. And lifelong learning. This is where we are talking about your regular, so to say, MBA programs or any other ways in which university provides any kinds of training, workshop, or support to companies. Next one is valorization of R&D or so-called commercialization of R&D, depending on the vocabulary that you're opting to choose, which would usually include the traditional ways to commercialize research through patenting and licensing, but could also include maybe spin-offs of spin-outs creation, which also then means that we're focusing a lot on entrepreneurship-focused activities as well that are being undertaken by an academic or student, or maybe the activities in social entrepreneurship as well. Then when we look at the governance, there are also ways in which, the company and the university can collaborate, so to say, in management, and those would, for example, include activities such as sharing or co-creating labs and facilities. Industry can also just directly support the university with either financial grants or in-kind support. And often we call it governance collaboration. This is where a company representatives come and sits on the university board and the other way around when the a university professor is being invited to then take a space in a board of a company as an advisory, so to say. And last but not least, highly intensive research activities that would, for example, involve joint R&D, mobility of personnel. This is where probably industrial PhDs will come in close as well. Or when, just generally there are professors who are sharing their time and space by being professors in practice and working at the university and at the company. And there is, of course, also consulting to business or contract research, if you will. So this is just a general overview of different ways of how universities and businesses can collaborate with each other. But then again, if you will sort of go a level more granular, you will be able to unpack many more other activities, such as bootcamps, for example, or maybe hackathons, and so on and so forth. So there are many different ways in which today universities could engage in external relationships with external partners. I also wanted to bring one case study that is in food and beverage sector, just to illustrate of how a university, in this case, a University of Applied Sciences, can work together with a number of different companies. And again, this is also a University of Applied Sciences example. So for them, it's sort of almost like ingrained in their DNA that they would engage a lot. And they do it beautifully, and they do it in a very targeted way in agriculture, food and beverage, and sustainability industries. Green Academy is a prominent Dutch University of Applied Sciences that is specifically focused on agriculture, food, and the living environment. And they collaborate a lot, extensively with SMEs, as well as bigger corporations as well, to foster innovation, research, and development across various sectors. If you want to look up, they actually provide extensive information from their website, but they do it in many different ways by, for example, providing and working on applied research and development projects, where has academic partners with SMEs to conduct applied research in areas like sustainable food production and crop management. Often these projects lead to some smaller targeted interventions, or maybe even new products, processes, and methods. They do work a lot with innovation hubs and incubators, sort of providing the support to smaller companies through helping them focus on incubation in food, innovation, and sustainability. Another example is this talent development bit that we were talking about before, student engagement. So Green Academy works closely with companies to create opportunities for students to engage in real-world projects that are industry-driven. And there's a lot of knowledge exchange and expertise sharing. And another big pillar of work that they do is to actually support their external environment with customized education and training programs. So they design programs to meet specific needs of companies and other organizations, not just students, so to say. So it's great to see how they work, and they, of course, very proactively approach their companies around. But if you would be curious to learn more about this case study, surely visit their website. They provide a lot of information on types of collaboration that are both publicly and privately funded, but also some of the smaller initiatives as well. Now I'd like to talk to you about, and I know we have 10 minutes, so let's see how far we'll get. But let's just talk about barriers towards collaboration. And maybe just very quickly, a question to all of you. What kind of barriers would you experience when you collaborate? And what kind of barriers your partner would experience when they collaborate with you? Just a very quick interaction here. Communication is one. Application process. Does it apply to both yourself as a collaborator and your partner? Something that sits in between? Delivery styles is also a good one. Yeah, thanks. Time business does not always. Yes. That is a good one as well. Culture, for sure. Wonderful. Please keep them coming. In the interest of time, I will start moving to the next section, but all I wanted to show you is how these barriers look like from the perspective of different stakeholders. So when we asked university managers what hinders your collaboration, they would say the limited resources of SMEs. They would say lack of business funding for university business collaboration, lack of government funding. Basically, university leaders just complain about not having enough money. For them, it's a very big barrier, which is fair enough, but for them, it takes the first place in the ranking, so to say. Then if we will look at the academics, they say also the resources, yes, maybe, but more importantly, it's bureaucracy, because I have no time for, dealing with all those processes. And just generally, I don't have enough time. I already do teaching. I already do research. Do you also want me to collaborate? So that was also something that the academics mentioned as the top 3 of their barriers. Whereas for businesses, it was just very difficult to navigate sometimes the university environment. So if we have university folks here, just think about how you can make your, I guess, outlook a little bit easier for a partner to understand how you work. For them, someone said culture and motivations. Yes, that's exactly the case for businesses as well. So they do see that, maybe not managing those expectations and not defining motivations from the outset can lead to some problems. And the time has been mentioned as well. So in many ways, the things that you have mentioned are reflected here as well. But now if I were to go into the facilitators and motivators, and here we're talking about the things that motivate me to collaborate versus also some of the factors that makes the collaboration a little bit easier for me. If we look at the motivations for university management, for them, the motivation is driven by obtaining funding. Not surprising, given that one of the biggest barriers for them was not having enough funding. Universities are driven by the willingness to improve the graduate employability, and they would like to use their university's research and practice. Now let's take a look at what the academics say. For them, most importantly, it is about the opportunity to gain new insights for research and to use their research in practice. So it's very much focused on research and their academic duties to begin with. So they would very much like to either enrich their research portfolio or to make it more practical, or to be able to address societal challenges and issues for that. And for businesses, it's about getting access to new technology. This is something that we already talked a little bit about before. It's about improving their innovation capacity and new discoveries at an early stage. But now I just wanted to also maybe reframe this a little bit and just take a look at what everyone thinks is important to have in place, so to say, as a driver, as a facilitator for this collaboration to work. And universities would say, for me, it's important to have trust, to be able to work effectively. It's important to have a shared goal. For me, it's important funding again. But then academics and businesses, let's just take a look and see. Isn't that interesting that when we talk about different motivations versus, goals and different barriers, actually the things that we most care about for make this relationship happen is having trust and to be able to build this relationship. So this is just an important reminder for all of us that collaboration, just like any relationship, actually requires first a bit of a human-to-human interaction. We really first need to build that trust, talk it out, make sure that the goals that we're looking to achieve are actually aligned with each other. Those could also be different goals, but they just shouldn't be contradictory to one another. Do we manage the expectations? Do we communicate? Someone said communication is quite important. So those are all the things that I think are quite important. Therefore, when we talk about a collaboration that is impactful, it's very important to put in place a few things. And let's just take a joint R&D project as an example of that. So I am a university, I have a collaboration partner, an SME, and together we undertake a joint R&D project. Well, as a result of it, as the main output, what we receive is that for us, for academics who work at the university, we get research results, but those research results still need to be turned into publication, and they still need to be more publishable. And for businesses, it means that they receive the results that are yet not translated into business language, and they may not necessarily have the support in place to be able to implement that. This is when we talk about the direct results from that research project. Now, how can we actually get to good outcomes and impacts? How can we, so to say, overcome the so-called knowledge to transfer value of death? Well, in order to be able to do so, first and foremost, we need to focus on those facilitators that we talked about before. We need to make sure that the interests are aligned and that we actually build this foundation and build this relationship before actually embarking on this, and making sure that at least the expectations are managed. Because if at the beginning we did this a bit of a pre-work, then we will be able to translate those outputs into outcomes and actually support the translation to be able to then get those that impact that we always talk about. So which means that before actually judging that there are no results, it all just takes time, and it all takes more than anything, and not so much even time, but collaboration and relationship building. Because if at the beginning it is clear what is needed, then we will be able to translate those into publications and new research insights for academics and for businesses, for product services and reputation. So all I'm saying is that when we talk about university business collaboration, it's just quite important to focus on making sure that we don't forget that it's people's game, that we do manage the expectations from the start, and that whatever we're trying to achieve is actually aligned with expectations and with the wishes of both parties. That brings me to the end of it. I wish there was more time, because it would have been great to give you a bit of a more practical hands-on advice on how to start building those relationships, especially what someone has said before. How can we make sure that those transactions can actually be turned into more strategic partnerships? But that hopefully we can do at a different time. Otherwise, I would like to thank you all for your time and for sticking around for another 40 minutes with me. Hopefully I will see you soon again.